it's just like EDM, where it's like there's a feeling, boom, 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 and it makes you excited, and it tricks you into thinking you are excited.
It's like a cello, and the lower registers can make you feel really sad. It can. I know.
Right.
What is it about that instrument? And when you get in the lower notes with the cello, it's just really sad.
It's that's the saddest instrument.
But it's a great instrument because relaying that emotion is a wonderful thing.
I have a soda today. Ooh.
What's up with you? How many grams of sugar in that thing?
Oh.
It's a 12-ounce can. Let me guess. I
can't get it out of my koozie.
I'm going to say 36 grams of sugar.
Uh-huh.
A koozie.
Mm-hmm.
A koozie.
Oh, it's 39.
Wow.
Do you still have stocks in that weird pancake thing?
Yeah, sadly. I can't do anything with them. I have 960 shares, and it's well below a penny. And to even sell stuff off, one, there's no money, so there's no point. Yeah. Two, they charge you $10 per trade, so I would owe them money if I...
Oh, no.
It's just there.
Yeah.
I thought it would take off.
What is it? It's pancakes in a can or something?
Yeah, it's Nate's Food. Pancake batter in a can. Which is a good idea. You don't have to mix it up in a bowl. There's not as much stuff to clean. It's actually can? It's a very great idea.
Is it in a can?
It's in a can.
A tin can?
No.
Like you have to use a can opener.
Like a whipped cream type can. Shoot it into the pan.
Okay, like a Cheese Whiz.
Yes.
Sort of thing. Okay.
So it's very clean, very efficient. Let's see what Nate's Food stock is.
Oh my God. It just sounds very unappealing.
No, look it up. This is some great stuff.
In a can.
They screwed it up. They screwed it up. It's not because the product's not good. Whatever was going on with them.
I mean, they make pancake mix now pre-made. It's just like in a bottle.
So someone stole it. They made it better. That's what happened. Nate's had the foothold on this. Mm-hmm. They were ahead of the game. And they screwed it up. The stock is 0.0014.
Oh, no. What can you do with something like that? Nothing? It just has to sit there. Like, there's no recourse.
Yeah, I mean, in essence, the money's gone.
Yeah.
The company is still operating somehow, somewhere. I have $1.34. What am I going to do?
That's almost a cup of coffee.
I'm not doing it. The $1.34 is lost. It's gone.
Welcome to One Topic, where we stick to one topic. My name is Autumn Fisher.
My name is Greg Russ.
And it's my week. It's mine!
To choose a topic.
To choose a topic. And the topic I have chosen is art.
You told me this last night, and I became intimidated.
Why were you intimidated?
Well, I'll probably come off like a Philistine.
Ooh.
In talking about art. I'm appreciative of art.
Sure.
On many levels, but there's so much of it, and it's so... I have thoughts of the kinds... When I was thinking about this, there's art that I like, and art that I think that I don't like, but then I look at that and it's like, well, I do like this part of that, and then that part of that. So there doesn't seem to be any kind of boundaries, and my opinions seem to be all over the place, so I feel like whatever I end up saying, at some point I'm going to contradict, I'm going to be a hypocrite, and I'm just setting it up now. That's probably the way this is going to go.
I mean, I wouldn't say that that's a crazy way to be. I feel like when I was thinking of this topic, I thought about the people who don't really know what art is and don't want to feel anything when they look at something. Especially, I'm thinking of someone who puts things in their home. I'm not thinking of like an art gallery necessarily.
So what was this, a trip to Marshall's that triggered this? You see the crappy art that's listed there on the walls?
Yeah, it was the Home Goods.
The ones I send you pictures of when I go to Marshall's. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to look for some of these. Some of the worst stuff you've ever seen.
What do you mean, like family ones? Like things like live, laugh, love?
Yeah, these aren't really even necessarily art. They're just sayings.
Yeah. Or like ones that say cafe.
This one says faith, family, flag. The 3 F's. We follow the 3 F's in my home. Faith, family, and flag.
Any kind of flag? Red flag.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of flag it is.
Yeah. Or maybe the flag that says like you shouldn't swim. Like the lifeguard puts out.
Yeah, the red flag. Mm-hmm. Then there's the hurricane flag.
Ooh.
Which has got the black stripe through it, right?
Or yeah, and there's the one with the white stripe through it.
Welcome to our wedding. This is just a template so you can put up some wedding photos. It's good to be home. She's a catch.
Ew.
With my whole heart for my whole life. Start each day with a grateful heart. So, but it's not this stuff that made you think.
No, it wasn't that. But that stuff is horrible. But also what I think of is like, okay, the people who don't, I mean, listen, I don't feel like I'm a lover of art or
An
that
art lover?
an art lover. I don't feel like I'm that kind of person. I don't know artists that, like if you showed me a painting, I wouldn't be able to say, that's a Cezanne or something. I don't know.
So right now we're just talking pretty much about visual art. You're not getting
Yes.
into music. You're not getting into film,
No.
books.
Visual art. What I mean are, the visual arts and not film, not movies. I'm talking about like
Which are art in their own right, sometimes.
paintings, maybe photographs, maybe performance art.
So
Things like that.
stage can count.
What's that?
Stage can count.
No,
within
I'm not
this.
talking about that.
You said performance art.
Oh, but stage. Well, I don't mean no, but someone who's on a stage isn't necessarily doing performance art.
No,
Performance art, like
not all the time. This is what I mean. These boundaries. This is why I got panicked last night. It's like, I don't know. But I'm just trying. I'm just asking questions. I'm not trying to antagonize you.
Sure.
I'm just trying to understand what we are focusing on.
I'm thinking of if you took an art class in college, they're not going to say like, okay, all types of art. You know what I mean? Those are separate things. Film is separate than what I'm talking about.
Pottery.
No, that's different.
Pottery's out.
Pottery's out. Cross it off your list. If you
Sculpture.
have sculpture, yeah, sculpture, sure.
Okay, sculpture is in.
Yes, sculpture is in.
Visual art, paintings, that's in.
Yes.
A person on the street standing still is a Statue of Liberty.
No, that's not in.
That's not-
Unless they were. No.
But those people don't move for hours at a time.
Yeah, but that's not art. They're not doing it for art. They're doing it for money.
A mime.
A mime.
A mime could be doing it for the love of mimery.
Yeah, if they're like a certified clown, they went to clown college.
They don't always want the money. They just want to go out there and mime.
I guess that's their art. Okay, I'll count that.
But that's going to fall into this.
Sure.
Okay.
What I was thinking, I feel like there are people who don't care about what's on their wall, have no connection to it. Maybe they just know that it, ties the room together or something, or it has colors in it that are also in the rug. They don't care about where it came from. They get it from the Marshalls, or they get it from the Home Goods.
TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx.
That's my go-to.
They got it on sale at Pier 1. Okay. You have no connection to this thing. It's just on your wall and it makes your house look nice. Or those paintings you might find in like a hotel room. You know what I mean? They're not gonna stir anything in you.
It's mass produced. I mean, hotel room. There's got to be a hotel out there somewhere that's got original works of art in every single room, which is going to be quite the investment in money, even if it's a no-name artist, if it's the only piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a reason they do that. But yes, I get. It's like,
Okay.
oh, I'm tying this room together just through this random picture that I
Right.
found in the clearance bin.
Right. So I feel like that's one category. I think there's another where you have a connection to everything you have up on your wall, not necessarily whether it's worth any money or whether, it's something you found maybe like at the Goodwill. It's just something you have a connection to it, and that's why it's up. And then there are the people who like the uber wealthy, right? Who only have things on their wall not because they have a connection to it, but because it's a status symbol, right? Of who they are and how much money they have and what kind of home this is and what kind of people they are. And I'm sure within that, there are people who appreciate the art, right? Who just happen to be super wealthy and can afford it. But some people, some of those people might just be blinded by, oh, well, it's really expensive, so I must love it. Because if I don't love it, then I'm some sort of rube.
Or it's really expensive, so it must be good.
Right,
But
exactly.
these are the kind of people it's like, I've got the Monet, but Frank down the street, he only has the Rothko.
Did you see his Rothko? He put that in his living room like he's proud. Yeah, stuff
What a
like
loser,
that.
Frank. New money. He just came into that wealth and he has no clue what to do with it.
Yes. Money screams, wealth whispers.
All right, so where do you want to start?
Oh, and then I think about the like modern art. Is it modern art that where it's like, it's just a white canvas?
Well,
is that modern art?
It falls into modern. Modern art's a wider umbrella for art. It's when the purpose of art started to shift a bit. I shouldn't even say purpose, but the way people went about it, because in the past you had people who were doing representative paintings. One, that was the only way to visually document the world. Then photography came around. There's always a rebellion in these things too. So you had people who were impressionists, which still painted pictures that we can look at and know what it is, like a Van Gogh. But it's more about the feeling at that point. Here's the scene in the real world, and you're more so trying to document what it's making you feel, or a different surreal representation of it, which I can appreciate. But then, yes, you also get into abstract art, which is part of modern art, and that's just, if you go to the Museum of Modern Art, for example, there's a room, it's a white sheet of paper with one pencil line drawn on it.
Yeah. What is that making? So for me, I feel like something that's good, if I consider, I mean, it's all subjective, I guess, but for me to say it's good, I think, I don't know, maybe there needs to be something more to it, some more effort put into it.
But all right, so let's just try to define art to begin with. It's a very subjective thing. For me, when I was thinking about this, I was like, what to me makes good art? It's something that makes me question myself, my place in the world, the way I live my life. But then I realized there's a whole technical aspect of it that I can also appreciate. And that comes into play a lot of the times with representative art, just the skill involved in painting something and making it look real. A lot of those times you may look at a mountainscape and say, oh, wow, that's amazing. Do you feel much? Maybe you do. Some people do.
Right.
I wouldn't, but I would really appreciate that. But then there's art that isn't as representative that can make you feel more. So this is what I'm saying. At first, my definitive answer was, what's good art? Makes me feel something and question myself and my existence. It's existential. And then I realized there's a whole technical aspect that I could also appreciate.
So yeah, it's interesting to think about, because you're right. If someone painted a picture, like the people that do those like photorealism type of thing, that's almost not as good as something that is more of like an oil painting where you can see the brush strokes and you can see like.
But it is good. The fact that they can paint it so realistically.
I know, but I'm not getting anything from it, is what I mean.
All right. So then, for you, what you take from art isn't necessarily the technical part of it.
I guess not.
Just tying this back, though, quickly to the white sheet of paper with a line drawn on it, I don't get either out of it. I feel nothing, and I don't look at it. That's why when people say things like, I could do it myself, I could have done that, it's like there's a dismissal. We don't know what the motivation behind the art was. A lot of times I find it to be BS. I don't know what that artist would have said, but maybe there's a great explanation that reframes it for me in my mind, and then I look at it and say, well, a lot of times it just seems like it's made up.
I saw as part of some, I don't know, a piece of an exhibit where it was a t-shirt on a hanger and it said Old Town Road, and then underneath it said horses in the back. You know what I'm talking about, that horrible song?
No, I have no clue.
Me down to the Old Town Road, I got horses in the back.
So this piece of art was referencing the song.
Yes. And maybe if I wanted to sit and think about what that meant, I guess I could say maybe it has something to do with the like taking over of Black culture from, because it's a country music song that's like, it's really not a country music song. It's like a hip hop trap song, but it's on the country music charts because like there's a twangy person who's rapping part of it and they talk about like horses, and so maybe it had some sort of, maybe it was trying to say something about culture. I don't know. But either way, it's shit like that I don't like. Or, you're in a museum for that type of art and you see like a fire extinguisher on the wall and you're not sure whether that's a piece of art or not. or like caution tape around something. You're like, is this construction or is this a piece I'm looking at?
You know what I don't like is when people make playful looking pieces that you're not allowed to touch. There was an exhibit I saw with these big rubber animals, just realistic representations of alligators and other. And they're rubber. Don't touch it. But it's there, and I want to touch the thing. Which fine if everyone's
maybe that's part of it.
If everyone's touching it, I understand that it's not good for the piece. But the T-shirt, maybe someone gets something out of it. This is with modern art, and this is where we are. The rules are out the window. If you go back to painting philosophy, there were ways that you were supposed to do it. It was very restrictive. It really was a skill, and there was mastery. And then all that shit was broken down, and it opened up the world. So because it's so accessible now. Anyone can do something and say it's art. There's just more shit to wade through. I feel like it's the same thing with the internet now, with everyone's got their YouTube videos and wants to be famous, and that way there's just so much more content.
Yeah.
So much of it's crap. There is good stuff out there. Sometimes you can't even articulate what sets it apart. It's like, I don't know. That video's not much different than this other video. Or, with writing, because everyone has access to putting their writing out there at this point with the internet. And I feel like that happened in art before, just when the rules, the walls, the levees were broken. It's like, all right, this is just fair game now. Everyone go do their own thing.
Right. But then there are people who are going out there and trying to do their own thing and thinking, like maybe they're mimicking the people who aren't really doing anything. And then it all becomes cloudy as to what art is or what content is. Like people are just mimicking something that is not good. Right? Like, so if someone goes out there and puts out a YouTube channel because they grew up or they started watching the person who does also the bad content YouTube channel, and then that turns into actual content because they're carrying on something from the past, I feel like it adds legitimacy to it, but it doesn't make it any good. So it's like watered down, not interesting, not from a real place. And I feel like art needs to be that.
Then I think that's a fair assessment. You're allowed to have any assessment you like for art.
Yeah.
That painting on the wall behind you, what is that? I don't even know how to describe that, because that's some abstract art.
Yeah, I don't love it.
I'm just curious the story behind it.
Okay, so
you can post a picture of it
if I'll
people
post a
want to see
picture
it,
of
because I wouldn't know how to put that into words.
I don't either. I mean, it's like splattery and red and orange and yellow and blue. It looks like blood. So Travis, my husband Travis, was at a professor's house. It was his going away party. He was, I don't know, moving to China or something with his wife somewhere far away, and he couldn't take a lot of the stuff from his apartment, so he invited people over for his going away party, and you could just take stuff. And one of them was this painting, and it turned out I think it was like $400 or $600. We didn't buy it. He bought it. And he said, "Here, you can just do you want it? You can have it."
Where did he get it?
I don't know. I think he bought it from the artist.
Man, see, it's all arbitrary. The artist said it's worth this. That guy said, "Okay, I think it's also worth this, and I'll spend that amount of money on it."
So it's probably our most expensive painting in the house. It's the one that I like the least.
Are you sure it's right side up? Maybe it's upside down.
No, it might be. No, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe it's on its side. You could actually hang that any way you wanted.
You could. I felt like this was the way. I wanted it to go up.
And if you didn't, it kind of looks like a spectral waveform and audio editing.
Yeah, it kind of does.
If you look at the spec, that's the closest I can describe the thing.
Okay.
But you could put it any way you wanted. Then the artist could come in and tell you that you had it wrong and give you an explanation. And I'd be curious as to what the explanation is of why it's not the right way.
I have another picture that's similar to this. It's huge. It takes up, half a wall, super tall. And it's been in my family forever. My Uncle Ed, who was my dad's army friend, who's an artist, he made it for them in 75. And it's always been in my life, and it's mine. I took it from my parents. I wanted it. And we've had it upside down forever. So the only way I've known it is upside down. So when he sees it, he's like, "Oh, it's upside down." You're like, who cares?
Yeah, at this point, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
That's the way that's supposed to be presented to me, and I'm not ever going to change it.
Yep.
But again, these lines are blurred. I don't know you know, I mentioned Rothko earlier. His paintings of just colors. There's whatever you want to think of those. Why is he a good artist? I don't even want to talk about that. If he's not, there's probably arguments for both sides.
Right.
But there's one of them, the black on gray, which looks like the other ones. It's just black on gray. But then the story behind it was he painted that same year he committed suicide by slicing his wrists. It's like, oh, well, that painting takes on a whole new meaning now. That's like a representation of your inner life. If that's true, I don't know. That's the way I take it. He has all these colors, and then eventually just gets to black and gray, and then he's dead. Then he kills himself.
Right.
And so then suddenly it's like, wow, that's got a lot more meaning to me now. That kind of painting. So sometimes...
But that might not even have been his meaning behind it.
It may not have been, but it wasn't even a meaning he expressed. If that was an expressed meaning, well, that one's still pretty heavy, so maybe I would have accepted that one. But
I'm annoyed by art that gets successful, I think.
Why is that? Do you secretly want to be an artist?
No. I think when it gets successful, just like a band or something who they write a song and then the song is popular and then people ask them like, what did your song mean or what were you thinking when you wrote it? Or what does this song mean? And they say, it means whatever you want, like you gotta, put it through your own life and interpret it. It's the same thing. I feel like artists can say, art can be out there and you can interpret it any way you want. And if it's super popular, people come up with cockamamie crazy ideas about what things mean, like the duality of man or, the loneliness of whoever, it doesn't have to, you sort of make that up instead of the artist saying, this is what it means. Here it is.
Well, I don't know if one's better than the other, really. Let the person have it. If they have some insane explanation what that piece of art means to them, fine. A lot of times they try to push that onto other people, and then they treat you like you're an idiot if you don't agree or you don't have some other similar feeling. That's all right. Shut up at that point. Music, when a musical artist, band, whatever says it's open to interpretation, obviously something inspired them to write it, but the words are still there as words. It's poetry in a sense, so it is a little more fluid. So I think drawing your own conclusion is still structured somewhat within that song. It's like, I have these words to work with. When you've got a pile of broken glass on the ground, it's like, there's no framework for me to even... I can draw whatever conclusion I want from this.
Yeah.
I just
whatever I'm going through in my life can be filtered through.
But I don't think that's even going to be impactful for me personally, and that's part of the reason I don't get into that kind of art so much. If people do actually draw their own conclusion and enjoy it, fine. Just don't treat me like an idiot because I'm not doing the same thing.
Maybe it's about pretentiousness. Maybe art can breed a ton of pretentiousness.
Well, it can.
Pretentiosity.
Artists and people who consume art.
Yeah.
It's filled with that. And a lot of it, another argument I think against abstract art especially, is because it is so open to interpretation and people drawing their own conclusions that it doesn't even seem fitting for that pretentiousness. It's like, wait, no. If there are no rules to begin with, why are you setting them after the fact? Why are you trying to make me feel lesser of a person?
Right.
And even if they're not doing that purposely, they're just trying to boost their own image for other people. That's an intended result of it. And, there's a museum up in Beacon, New York, which is up the Hudson. You can just take the train up there, the Dia Beacon. And it's got a lot of modern abstract art in it. And the pile of glass thing I brought up is actually a thing there.
Okay.
It's like, I get nothing out of that one. But there was another exhibit that's not there anymore, and it was really just a bunch of very mathematical geometry, not geometrical shapes, but on grid papers and line graphs. And I loved that. And it's not necessarily that I took anything out of it about my own life, other than the fact I do feel like math is the language of the universe. So it's like, wow, someone, this is presented and it made me feel small again. But there's a beauty to it because it's so structured. So it's something within that, because it's math, it's structured, and I loved that part
liked
of it.
it.
And other people probably were bored to hell with that. Like, ugh, where's that pile of glass? I want to go look at that.
That's art.
Yeah, and so be it. If that's the way it works, just enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, something else I was thinking about was when art is stolen like famous works of art when they're stolen. I don't understand that process of having the stolen artwork because I would guess that you're stealing it because it's worth so much money. But then how do you sell it when it's known that it's
I think
stolen?
you can always find a buyer. There's a person out there who's got a shitload of money who will buy it, and then they just hide it. And they'll tell select people that they have it, and it's another way to show off. Or if this person really just enjoys art and for themselves, and they never share it, but they know that they've got that stolen piece of art and they paid a lot, it means something to them. Like, yeah, I'm the person who has it.
But then the meaning behind the painting is that it's stolen and less that it's famous and beautiful and less that it's famous and less that it's meaningful to you.
I guess.
I don't feel like an art thief is like, I appreciate this painting so much.
The art thief doesn't, but the person who buys it from the art thief.
You think they do? I feel like people who
then it becomes part of the
art.
It becomes part of the story. That could be art in its own right. The stolen paintings. That's all I collect is the stolen paintings because it adds so much more to the story and the feeling I get from this.
No, that's their own making. That's not art. That's not the art.
But
they've created that bullshit.
Sure, but it became part of the story. All I'm saying is this is the way this works. This is why going in, it's like I don't even know how to approach this.
Yeah.
People can take whatever they want. And who am I?
It's too subjective of a topic, you mean?
No, I mean, it's interesting to talk about, but who am I to even tell you that you're wrong for feeling that?
Yeah.
Or liking to be the purchaser of stolen art. That's your thing? Fine.
You're right, because what I'm looking for is the perfect way to appreciate art, and maybe there just isn't one. Because I feel like it needs to be you get something from it, and if you're getting and it's what the artist intended, and it's meaningful to you. And if you're not getting that and you're enjoying the art for any other reason, then it's not good. Then I think you're wrong. But maybe that's wrong.
Or maybe it's right. Maybe it's all right. Maybe none of it's right, none of it's wrong. Or it's all right and wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, in Atlanta, this is where I start to question your taste in art, Autumn.
Okay.
And I don't really want to be nasty about this too much.
Go ahead.
But, in Atlanta, there was the big Catlanta thing, which I did not understand why this became some craze. So anyone who's not from Atlanta or doesn't know what this is, Catlanta, you explain it because you were a huge fan.
Yes. So I don't know how it started initially, but Catlanta is an artist in Atlanta. He makes a very specific shape of a cat and I guess, fit cat with Atlanta. And we caught on to him because he would he would take a wood, like a piece of wood, and he would carve out the shape of this cat and paint it himself.
All the same shape.
Always the same shape. And then he would leave it somewhere. He would take a picture of where he left it and not give too many like discerning markers as to where it was, but you had to know the city well enough to sort of look in the background of where this cat was to know where the cat to be able to find the cat. So he would take that picture, he would tweet it out, and then you would go hunt for the cat and you would take a picture of it and say like, I got it, So he did that he did all kinds of themes. He partnered with the High Museum and painted all these really bigger, like these bigger ones, maybe like, I don't know, 8 inches something tall of these wooden cats and hid them all around the High Museum, painted in different techniques of different artists that are in the High that you can see.
It's a shame, by the way, that the High can't lure people in for the art they have, so they have to take the popular artist art and hide it in their own museum. Right. Come to the High to get this, and please, while you're here, look at the stuff we have to present.
Right. I like this cat. Maybe I'll like the actual painting that this cat is representative of. So yeah, we got really into that, Travis and I. So so there was something called Free Art Fridays, which I think is still going on, where local artists or just people who like to make little things would hide things, their little pieces all over, and take a picture and hashtag it with Free Art Friday. So you could search for that hashtag and then go find pieces of art hidden all around the city, which was really fun. I got a bunch of those things. I have like a little pair of felt underwear called like I forget what it's called, like undies or something. It had a magnet in it, so it's on it's on our fridge. It started with do you know that like robot face that is up by Videodrome?
Oh, the one that's painted on the.
That's no, not that thing, but like up on it's on a lamppost by Videodrome.
Oh no, I guess I've never noticed, even though I always stay near there at the
Right, I
Highland Inn.
forget what that guy's called, but he started it by just leaving things all over the city. This was like before Twitter. He put little magnets on his little square like robot head things and just left them everywhere. And people would collect them. And then there was like this weird community within the community that was mad at the other people for collecting too many of them. And it's like, that's not what this is for, you know? They started like eating their own.
These arguments start. That's a part of the reason I was around people who were in the art community, especially in Atlanta, because it was more concentrated. Mm-hmm. Here in New York, it's so it's spread out. I'm sure that maybe there are neighborhoods where they live closer to one another, but that kind of infighting was something I was not interested in. And then going back to the Catlanta thing,
yeah,
to me it just seemed like a power play. It's like, I'm the guy, I tweet, people scramble, sit back, watch. I hated it. The guy perched above, looking down at the morons, the sheep running around. Even if it wasn't like that, that's the way I viewed it, and that's why I could never stand it. That's why I did not like it. It just seemed like a huge power play, and this whole I'm not going to give you my identity. I'm going to hide my identity to offset that. So maybe you don't think that's... No. You're not fooling me. Just because we don't know who you are, if anything, that's even more of a power play.
Well, we know who he is now. He doesn't hide his identity anymore. But that was kind of the popular thing back then, if you think about it.
Right,
to hide your identity. What's his name? Banksy.
Everyone was stealing that.
Yeah.
Hanksy.
So we have like 7 or 8.
There was a guy around New York who would paint things on walls. Hanksy. It was always Tom Hanks in some kind of situation.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Is that art?
Yeah, it's parody in a way, but it's also it's art. I find it to be art. Parody's art.
So we have like 7 or 8.
What do you keep looking at over there?
I'm looking at my Catlanas on the wall. I hung them we put them in shadow boxes and put them on the wall.
I mean, that's nice. I thought someone was trying to break into your room.
Sorry, no. I'm looking at those.
You're reminiscing on how fun it was to go fight others and chase others and have to beat others to get the little generic templated cat.
But they're all painted
in different colors.
No, they're all no. Listen, one is Frida Kahlo, one is Marty McFly.
Okay.
One is a Jewish person for Hanukkah.
Okay.
And then the other is that I don't know, the X's for eyes, that artist who puts like, Kermit the Frog and he gives X's for eyes. I forget what his name is.
You see what's happening though?
What?
I'm starting to make you feel bad for liking that, because there's part of me that if you like it, there is a fear. It's like, well, maybe I'm really missing out on something here.
Oh.
Maybe I'm not getting it, so I can't let that exist. I need to shit on Autumn. It's like, you're an idiot for liking that. There, now I feel better.
But part of Catlanta is, listen, I don't like it because of, it's beautiful art and it makes me feel something. I liked it because, honestly, it's very Atlanta, which I was excited by living there. And it was fun because we had to get them.
Yeah, well, there was New York way before Catlanta, so get out of here.
If I was in New York at the time, I would have been collecting New York.
I don't even know if it was done the same way.
Oh, I believed you.
New York existed before you, Catlanta.
Well, that's fine.
Well, I know I'm in the minority with this opinion. I know it's very popular.
But what I mean for me personally, I want to connect with the thing. And I don't really care if it's great or not. Like I mentioned before, I have a painting from Goodwill. And listen, it's not the best painting in the world or anything. It's not even framed. I don't even have it framed. It's just on the wall. But I picked it up because I felt so bad for it, because someone had put the time and the effort into painting it, and then they probably died and their grandkids are like, fuck that, I don't know, send it all to Goodwill. So then it's just sitting there in this Goodwill, and this person like spent a lot of time on it. So I don't know, I feel like I'm rescuing paintings from Goodwill sometimes.
But that's a nice sentiment.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. You've attached a meaning to it.
Yeah.
You're saving someone else's work. They put in the time and you're respecting it. so they
Right.
don't feel completely abandoned, even though
Yes.
they're dead already, and their kids
Maybe
didn't.
they're dead, or maybe they were jerks. Maybe they were racists. I don't know.
You don't know. Now, if you found out that they were racist, would you still appreciate the work?
I would, because now it's like it's child. Like, don't blame.
Even if you knew the person was an asshole.
Sins of the father don't count for the painting.
Okay, I'll give you that. The painting it's got its own autonomy.
It does.
It's now alive, and
Yeah.
okay,
It deserves love,
that's
even if
fine.
it was painted by a racist. So what does that mean? Does that mean that I could buy Hitler's art if something that he painted really spoke to me?
I think at this point you know who Hitler is too much. You couldn't look at the art separate from him.
Yeah.
And I think the
What
collection.
if just without knowing, what if you just loved this thing and you're like, it must be so expensive because it's just, famous and what do I know? So I'll just pay this much money, and you fall in love with it. And then years later, someone tells you, that's Hitler's art. You say, oh shit.
Well, that's an interesting situation to be in. If you didn't know going in, the problem is going in, that's going to influence it. Mm-hmm. And I think the real reason his art sells is because people know it's his.
See, and that's the problem, even with the well-known things. If I look at something that's a Monet, and what if I don't like it, or I don't care? Maybe it's not that I don't like something, but sometimes I just don't care. Like, you show me something that's supposed to be famous, like the girl with the pearl earring. I'm not saying how I feel about this necessarily. I just mean it's famous, and you should look at it and you should appreciate it. Well, what if I don't get anything from it? Who cares? Like, does that mean that I
Means you're
don't
an
know
idiot.
anything?
Yes, it means you're
Yeah.
a moron. No, of course it doesn't.
I kind of feel this way about museums, and sometimes I don't know, not like things you're supposed to enjoy, things you're supposed to appreciate. I feel like you go there, you see the thing, and then for me, I'm like, all right, great,
Yeah.
that's cool, yeah, that's cool. Not like, wow, I just want to sit here. If I found that painting in Goodwill, I have more of a connection to than something I might see in a museum. Because what does this picture mean to me? Nothing. It's done well. It's old. It's interesting. Okay.
It's hard to look at them for what they are, too, once they become so famous and
Right.
popular.
Because once you see that it's Monet or whoever, you're like, oh, now it's something. I have to look at this differently.
Yeah, at some point, there was a painting that was done that was so different than the other stuff that was yes, it was probably warranted. I don't like to compare this to Rocky, but it's impossible. It's always, since I've been born, Sylvester Stallone was a movie star, right? Mm-hmm. But when Rocky came out, nobody knew who that guy was. That was just a guy that was a very independent film. Mm-hmm. And you would view it very differently than, oh yeah, there's Rambo and Demolition Man and all that.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the fact that I still think it's a good movie, but it does change the way you view it. And I think the reputation precedes the actual work sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's just like tourist attractions, or even not even attractions, but sites in cities. People come to New York. I want to go see the Statue of Liberty. It's like, okay. And then, wow. It's like, yeah, okay, there it is. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get as much out of that, but that's just in human nature. Then at that point, like, there's that thing I've heard so much about. It's just a way to be popular. That's popular. I'm close. I'm popular. And now you can take pictures.
I need to stumble upon something. And if it happens to be a tourist attraction, that's fine, because I found it on my own and now it means something. But then just to go to it, I feel like, there it is.
No, I'm totally with you. I like the fact that you're finding art that's discarded, begging for a home. And
Orphans.
If it doesn't find one, it's going to go into the dumpster.
Yeah.
I would get a lot more out of that also. Mm-hmm. It's the same way. I told you I like to travel. If I go to a city, I'll just go wander around the neighborhood. And then you find interesting things there, and things that move you that the rest of the world probably doesn't know exists.
Yeah.
And just the people in that neighborhood. And maybe they never even think about it because they're always there. And I get much more out of that. Doesn't mean you can't appreciate the other things. Are there any famous painters that you, or sculptors? We haven't talked about sculptures.
Well, I was going to say, I love those marble sculptures. I love them. I love the way that they look. I love the fabric, the way the fabric looks. I'm amazed that it's marble, you know? I think their skin looks so cool. I love like I think that's the part of the museum I'm excited about, and that's the like usually the end and no one is interested. They want to keep going. Like, let's go to the gift shop or something.
I mean, that's a technical thing more so. It sounds like, I'm not saying that you don't find beauty in it, but before you're saying you like to be moved, but that sounds like you're really into the technical part of it because it's so difficult to shape marble in such a way.
It's yeah. It's yeah, I guess so. But I'm not
It's okay.
I'm just trying to think how I actually feel about that.
This is what I'm saying. You have ideas of what you like about art, and you'll see that it's like, oh no, it's much more than that.
Maybe because when you're painting and it looks like a photograph, it may as well I may as well be looking at a photograph.
Yeah, but think about people before photographs. That was amazing. It's like, this looks so real. And it's still a great skill that
people weren't painting photorealism.
Oh, you're talking, but close enough. If you go look at representational art, a lot of it can. I know what you're saying.
Like of a queen or a king or something.
We've gotten to this hyper realism.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is that
mimicking a photo? Okay, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just straight up skill. So sorry, I threw you off your train of thought.
No, that's okay. No, that's a good thing to think about, because yeah, if I'm looking at something that, what did you call it? Hyper realism.
Yeah, if someone's painting looks exactly like a photo.
I think that's neat. But then at the end of it, I was like, I may as well just be looking at a picture. Like, who gives a shit? Okay, they did it, and it's really good. That looks like a picture. That's cool. But I don't feel anything. For some reason, I feel something when I see the marble. And I think because it does look so beautiful and so well done. Sounds like I'm describing the other thing. You're right. I don't know. I don't know.
I trapped you.
You did.
That was not my plan.
For some reason, I get something from the marble. Maybe it's the shape of the people. You know, I love their shapes. I love their soft-looking skin, and sometimes like their muscly skin,
just the
muscly bodies.
Just the smoothness of marble, I really like. Even if it's a marble column, I'm like, I want to touch that. A marble floor.
Really?
Something about marble. Yeah.
You want to put your cheek on it?
I would.
Yeah.
Anytime I see marble, I'll put my cheek up to it. It's gonna be my new thing. Is there any specific artist, not just piece? I don't.
You know what I'd like is those perspective sculpture things where it's like a bunch of garbage looking stuff, and then if you look at it the right way, it's someone's face.
Yeah.
I think that's really neat. And I like mirrors. I like things reflected. I have no names for you. I have nothing.
No, that's okay. I've only got one. And people's like, who's your favorite artist? Like, there's only one artist that I really am taken with his work, Edward Hopper. He's more of, his work is representative in the sense that you know what you're seeing. It's not abstract, but it's still more impressionist. But it's just people in lonely situations. That's the way I interpret it.
Surprise.
Well, because I think that's representative of humanity. There's a lot of loneliness out there. Nighthawks is a famous one that's been parodied a lot of times, Edward Hopper. It's the diner looking in from the outside.
Oh.
There's the guy behind the diner and two people, and they're all talking, and then there's a guy just sitting there alone. Mm-hmm. Nobody's paying any attention to him. Or A Room in New York is looking in through a window into the apartment, and there's a woman with her body turned towards her husband who's just reading a newspaper, not paying any attention to her, but the top half of her body's tinkering on a piano. It's basically like, hey, I'm here. Why aren't you paying attention to me? Mm-hmm. Why are you ignoring me? It's like I don't exist, but I'm also going to do this thing to kind of pass the time. And that theme runs in a lot of his paintings. And yeah, I really take to that.
Why do you take to loneliness so much?
I think because it's so widespread and nobody talks about it. No one really. I think I've struggled with it somewhat too, in the sense that I never really feel lonely on the surface, but when I think about it, it's like, yeah, when I was isolating stuff, that's lonely.
Yeah.
What a life to just hide away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that so much of the world just deals modern world where Western world probably more so than other parts of the world. The way it's structured and set up, it's very individualistic, which I think is okay too. There's a balance somewhere. But, you set out, you do this thing, even if you're surrounded by people. It's the New York thing we talk about too. It's like, oh, I'm here. There's all these people. But it's like, no, it's very easy to be lonely. Just because you're around people doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And there's something about that that's just, wow.
That would feel even worse. Because if you were around no one and you felt lonely, then you could say it's like, well, I'm not around anyone. But if you're surrounded by people, but you're still lonely, then you really have to, yeah.
And that exists so much here. I think of all the apartments. I walk down the street. I look at all the apartments. I think of all the people that live in those apartments and how maybe some of them just don't talk to anyone. It's probably dark and smelly in there. And when they die, they'll stay there for a few weeks. And the only reason anyone will find them is because the stench. It won't be because anyone said, where's Bob? Bob hasn't been around. Because nobody knows Bob.
Yeah.
And
not
that's
even
very,
his neighbors, really.
It's very, very sad. But I think realistic, too. I think that happens so often. There's an article in the New York Times I read about a guy who died in his apartment, and then what happens when you have no one to claim you, no next of kin.
Right.
You
go to that island.
Yeah, Hart Island.
Hart.
Eventually.
EART? Did we talk? I know we talked about this already.
Just HART.
Okay.
Sorry, not the same.
Boring.
So what else you have?
I'm trying to think if I have anything else. Performance art. I think I have a love-hate relationship with performance art because there are some things that I really like about performance art, and then there's other things I really hate. And it's all about real intention and whether I think that intention is worthy or not. So that's totally subjective. But I think that if you're doing performance art and it's only to be weird, and you feel like that is pushing something in society, shut up. Go away.
But weirdness,
I don't like that.
Weirdness could be pushing something in society. Maybe it's just been done so much now that it doesn't mean anything, but there is an aversion to weird people. So at some point, it's like, you know what? I'm going to put the weirdness out there. Here it is. At this point in our existence, that's long gone. Weirdos are all over the place, and they're proud.
All right. Well, then I'm extra annoyed by you thinking, well, there's like that Subway baby thing. Have you seen that person?
No.
They crawl around the sub like all the
they put it on those realistic baby masks.
And they're just gross. Just like,
yeah, I would ignore that person. But that's also getting in the way of other people, which someone could argue is art. Well, I'm disrupting. Look, you're on the train. You have somewhere to go. Leave me alone. Just stop it. And so also, if you're doing your performance art in a designated spot and you're crawling around and I walk past and I'm interested in stopping, fine. But the moment you're getting in the way of people.
All right. I just don't like the idea of you being weird and that you feel like that's pushing someone.
I don't think it's pushing anymore either. I'm with you on that. It's not anymore.
I like I always think about Yoko Ono's. Okay, so she's done a lot of performance art, but one of those early ones where she was sitting there and you could come up with scissors and you could cut off pieces of her clothing, and it was supposed to be like, the plight of women in the world. And I think that's interesting. But I don't even understand like interpretive dance, really.
You don't have to understand it. I think some people spend a little more time with it. Probably if you know about dance to begin with,
maybe
you could get more out of interpretive dance. Or maybe you don't even need that. Again, a lot of these things, even when we were talking about modern art, especially abstract art, it's all just, it begins with a rebellion against the rules and philosophies of art. So that means something at the time. It's like, wow, people are really going to start doing this. And then it's just oversaturated, and it opens.
I don't mind pushing a boundary like that and doing things a little differently. I just don't like it. I think when someone goes to an extreme with it, then I get annoyed and I feel like they're only going to the extreme just to be extreme, and then you lose merit.
I agree. That's because boundaries have been pushed, though. Everything. It's very hard to find something that hasn't already been done now. This is what people are facing. So it's like, well, what can I do? So I'll take that thing and make it even more extreme, but then it loses the message because you're just doing something for the sake of being extreme. It's like when
Right.
you're younger and you say things to shock people. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I'm saying that's not creative. That was
No.
nothing. You just did something. You got a reaction, sure. But don't mistake that for getting a reaction because you did something artistic or creative. They're different.
In my mind, I would like to think of myself as someone more open-minded and would say, whatever you get from art, it's totally fine. I don't care. But I do feel like there's right and wrong. I'm not proud of that, but it's true. I feel like I have hard opinions on things that I feel like I should be more open-minded to.
I would say that's very normal. I don't think that people operate any differently than that. Most people probably have those convictions and want to put that out there and tell other people they're wrong. I had an idea for an abstract art show. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the exhibits would have been, but it would have been follow the brown brick road to Enema City. So a little play on Wizard of Oz, Yellow Brick Road. So in this, the brown bricks are shit. And Enema City is the last piece on. So you just follow this brown brick road through the gallery or whatever, and you come across these different, just really awful, crappy exhibits that have zero meaning at all. And then you listen to people and talk about what it means, and then you come out and you tell them that they're wrong at the end. They say, who are you to tell me that I'm wrong? And then you say, I'm the artist. There is no meaning. That's the meaning here, is you're a moron. That was my whole idea for a show.
Oh my God.
Again, I obviously didn't go too deep into the planning because I don't know what the exhibits would be, but because to me that didn't matter. The message of that was, look at these idiots. Look at these fools who will come in and assign meaning to this crap. Just whatever it's like a bunch of plywood standing up in some crappy frame, nailed together, screwed together haphazardly. Like, oh my God, that's a representation of the structure of today's society. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's just some wood with some screws. It's all.
Wow. But what is that urge to teach people a lesson and to humiliate them?
Because there's an idea that people would be so hell-bent on telling you. The way it plays out, if you came out at the end and someone had an idea and you told them they were wrong and they didn't argue with you, then you're not mean to them. But they're the people who have to prove that they're right. And those are the people you teach a lesson to. It's like, you're not right. And I'll tell you why. Because I created it. And who's going to get to say what it means? Me or you?
I guess they would say, hey, art is up to whoever's viewing it. Mm.
The brown brick road to Enema City.
It's so
childish.
Yeah. Brown brick road.
It is very childish, but I don't care. I think it's funny. I think it could garner a good reaction from some people. Maybe most people would hate it and get an awful write-up.
I know. And then what do you do with that? Like, does someone buy that?
No, it's disposable. At the end, you throw it away where it belongs.
How do those modern art, crazy art, stupid art, what do they do with that stuff? How do these artists make money? No one's buying a bunch of caution tape.
That's a good question. I don't know. I assume there are ways. A lot of this is graffiti artists, and within that world, there's a division. But a lot of times they're out there, they're doing graffiti. Some do their own then art on canvases or whatnot that you can sell. But other ones will do advertisements, and you know how that's selling out. I'm on that side too. It's like, don't do the advertisement.
No,
don't do the.
But how do they fund their art without getting a Squaresville job?
That's the question, right? So maybe you have to do it so you can continue to hone your skill, even though you're selling out. For the Coors Light ad.
You got to do you have to do what you need to do to make money, and then you make your art that you're passionate about.
I know, but advertisement is so soulless.
Yeah.
I get it. Look, what do you think? I work in branded content. It's not much different. Mm-hmm. It's not a straight up ad, but editing these videos with here's a story about a person, human interest. Just kidding. It's about the new Intel chip.
Is that what you're doing right now?
That's not what I'm working. I've done that in the past.
That's what you were doing. Okay.
I mean, what did I'm doing something now. McCormick spices
Oh, you are?
and condiments with DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That one's not bad because they don't try to. Some of these people, our image is so important. That's more hands off. It's like, all right, here's Jazzy Jeff and Myron Mixon, who's a barbecue guy, cooking together, and they just happen to be using these spices. Sure, but
I mean, what I'm doing with the doctrine is not selling out, but I definitely do things on there that is not. I'm not. Our show would be you and I. Our show would be much different if I did the same sorts of things that I did on the doctrine, and like what I did on the doctrine was what I really wanted and was my passion. I love being on that show and I love doing those impressions and I love being there, but it's not my passion like this. I have way more integrity on this show than I do on that one.
yeah, and that's a little different though because that's still an original show that's trying to do something and stand on its own legs. And you have a role on that show. That's what you're brought on to do, and you're doing a job. It's a fun job.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not my art.
Plenty worse jobs out there.
This is my art if we're going to categorize anything. That's my Squaresville job, and this is my art.
You ever
If you can call this gibberish art.
Does anyone else know what that reference is?
If you do, tell us on our Facebook page.
Where did that come from? Now, while we were talking about graffiti, I was thinking about people who tag things, which sometimes it's very lazy. I'm not even talking about the style of the tag. There was this one guy, Neckface, he's actually a pretty well-known artist and does this dark, interesting artwork on his own, but his tag was just sloppy handwriting Neckface. And before I knew about his art, I just liked it. One, Neckface to me was funny, but when I would see it in odd places, like how did he get there and how did that happen? Like to me, that was an appeal. I saw some guys tagging a chain link fence with a tarp over it near a subway station the other day, and it was a much nicer tag. I was like, that's lazy. I could have gone and I don't have a tag, but that's accessible to everyone. So
right.
I'm drawing distinctions, and what's the worth of a tag?
Well, you like that kind of thing too, because you've said before about like getting together with friends is more significant if it's difficult for people to congregate, or yeah. So
there's more work put into it.
You need work.
There's a thought process. You devise a plan on how to get to the.
Someone's going to hold on to my ankles while I'm upside down spray painting this, highway sign.
Risk to it. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes me appreciate the fact I don't care what it looks like at that point. And yes, is it illegal? You've defaced someone's property. Fine, but that took some time and effort.
Okay.
So I can appreciate that. The one on the tarp there. You're lazy. That's the laziest. That, to me, is the white piece of paper with the line drawn on it.
Sure.
I don't even care what the backstory is. That's not, to me, I'm not getting anything out of it, and I don't think it took you much time either.
No, you're right. So effort and meaning and experience, like your experience, need to be a part of something for it to be good.
Yeah, I'm an appreciation of, the Rothko backstory, which probably wasn't even why the painting was painted, but he committed suicide the same year the Gray and the Black came out, Black and Gray.
Right.
It's like, well, that changes it. So there's a lot of factors at play. The technical part of it I can appreciate at times. There's a lot. So to sum this up, who knows? Who knows? Whatever your beliefs are, there's probably exceptions to those rules and things that fall into different realms, and that's okay.
It's interesting to think about all the different types. And the spectrum of different art, right? Starting from what we said in the beginning of just nothing, just nothing, just, a bit of an ocean and, a sand dune with a white fence that's getting buried, it's all right. It's nothing. To, the lady covering herself in blood in the middle of the street because she's telling you something about the women's, you know what I mean? Like there's this huge spectrum of art and what you can call art and what you can get from art. And it's weird to think about, I'm going to end it here, but it's weird to think about, thinking about being an alien and looking at what we're doing and what we're producing to show each other and to sort of express ourselves to each other.
I would be interested in seeing which pieces of art the aliens liked best, because the context of being human is gone. That's out the window. So they're not associating with that. They're not relating to it. So I wonder.
If we broke open a beehive, it was like an art gallery.
A beehive in its own sense is a piece of art.
You're right.
The way they build that honeycomb.
But they don't have a section of stuff they've made. Instead of honeycombs, they've made them into other things.
No, but then again, that's that structure that I like in the honeycomb. It's like, wow, look at that. That's just a symmetry that appeared in nature.
That is interesting. Have you done that thing where you put honey in a bowl with water and then you swish it around and then it goes, the cells have memory and go back to form a honeycomb pattern?
No, I've never done that first grader's experiment, but I should.
Do you have honey?
No. I don't really like honey.
Oh, I don't know.
But I would buy some just to do that.
Yeah.
I'd look at it. It's like
Come over to our house. We have honey. We'll do it.
It's like playing with cornmeal. Wet it a little bit. I bought cornmeal once just to do that.
Just like smack your hand into it.
It's so strange.
It is strange. All right.
What is the property? What is the property of cornmeal at that point? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks everybody for listening to our weirdest episode. Please rate and review us on iTunes and on Facebook. You can find us everywhere if you search for us under one topic. We have stickers and pins, and you can contact us in any of those places to see how to get something like that. Please check out hoffandpepper.com. They're the sponsor of our show. You can get 15% off of any hot sauce order if you put in the if you put in the code OneTopic15. That's 15% off at hoffandpepper.com. And that's it. What do you think? Good?
Do that thing where you say, until next time, and back off the mic. So get really loud and then back away from the mic.
Until next time, see you later. Bye.